KVL Sports Network is proud to present One from the Heart, the story of the 1990-91 Pittsburgh Penguins.
The Stanley Cup has come to the city of Pittsburgh.
It was a Cinderella story that even Disney would have thought too improbable to tell. But the saga of the 1990-91 Pittsburgh Penguins was truly a fairy tale that came to life. Like any good fantasy, there was a hero, one who had been there through the hard times, a man who suddenly found himself surrounded by others who seemed foolish enough to believe in the same dream. Against all odds, they fought together, won together, and eventually rejoiced together. For the team and its fans, there was a happy ending to the 91 season, one that came from a team with enough faith to think they could actually win the Stanley Cup, enough talent to keep believing it, and enough heart to convince every team that stood in its way that this championship season was one from the heart. The early years of the Penguins reads more like a soap opera than a success story. They came into the league very much like orphans. They were almost adopted by the Internal Revenue Service. They were saved from extinction by the Edward J. DeBartolo family, and finally raised to glory by a quiet French Canadian, simply known as Le Magnifique. While the team would be built around number 66, Mario Lemieux, the search began for his supporting cast. Head coaches and GMs came and went, while important pieces of the puzzle were obtained. Finally, in '89, the DeBartolo family hand-picked their man to lead this team into the promised land. They chose Craig Patrick as their general manager. The very next year, he stunned the hockey community by luring Hall of Fame NHL coach Scotty Bowman to become his director of player development and recruitment.
I felt we needed someone with vast hockey knowledge to work with me and be on the road and be out seeing the world of hockey. And when I say the world of hockey, I literally mean the world of hockey. Scotty's been everywhere this year. And any place there's hockey being played, Scotty's been there.
Patrick's stint behind the Pittsburgh bench last season convinced him to look for a heavyweight head coach. Enter the highly experienced and successful Bob Johnson.
I could see that we needed someone of Bob's stature and caliber and experience to come in and lead this team, because just seeing what we had, we didn't have the proper mix of people that could do it themselves. They needed someone with a strong backbone who had those years and years and years of experiences, all kinds of experiences in coaching. He's been coaching close to 40 years, and nothing surprises Bob in coaching.
Some hockey writers wondered if Patrick had surrounded himself with highly qualified successors, should he stumble. But the quiet, soft-spoken man pressed on. Patrick would be challenged on opening night as the Penguins took the ice without their star, Mario Lemieux. After successful back surgery, Lemieux contracted a rare bone infection that would sideline him for the next 4 months. The expected collapse of the Pens never happened. Without him, the offensive burden was picked up by emerging big man Kevin Stevens and by second-year sensation Mark Recchi, and the gritty leader and scorer, John Cullen. Cullen remained near the top of the league in scoring through much of the season.
He shoots and scores! John Cullen!
All three players were named to the NHL Mid-Season All-Star team, along with Paul Coffey. GM Patrick traded Rob Brown to Hartford for forward Scott Young. And in late January, Mario returned. He scored a goal and an assist in his home debut against the Caps.
I afraid he misplayed it. Comes to Yager. Yager shooting. Save it. Rebound. Lemieux. He puts it in. Mario Lemieux ties the game for the Penguins. Oh, buck him, Daniel. Lemieux is back.
The surprising play of their 18-year-old first-round draft pick from Czechoslovakia, Jaromír Jágr, kept the Pens in the hunt.
Here's what he does. He gets it now to Jimmy Johnson. Shot, save, rebound, score! Jaromír Jágr scores for the Penguins, and they have the lead.
In goal, Tom Barrasso quietly returned to his all-star form. With personal tragedy lifted from his brow, he was now playing with a new purpose. But late in February, the Pens slid into a winter funk. They were soon 12 points behind the New York Rangers, and their playoff hopes were dangling by a thread. In early March, with less than 24 hours remaining before the NHL trading deadline, and the Penguins drifting in mediocrity, Craig Patrick showed the hockey world who he was. He traded John Cullen, the team's leading scorer, along with talented defenseman Zarli Zalapsky to Hartford. The players they got in return would change the very style of the Penguins' game. Defenseman Ulf Samuelsson was a Swedish linebacker. His trademark was a thunderous check. Coming to Pittsburgh along with Ulf was a tough defenseman Grant Jennings and Whaler veteran center Ron Francis. Number 9 was a standout two-way player who played both ends of the ice like each shift was his last. His specialty was shadowing the other club's leading scorers. The three highly skilled defensive-style players were a signal of what was to come. As they had all season, Ryan Trottier and Joey Mullen continued to provide more Stanley Cup experience. Back in December, Patrick brought in fellow Czechoslovakian Jiří Hrdina for his checking and scoring, and to stabilize rookie teenager Jágr. The trade and a healthy Mario Lemieux sparked the Penguins to a 9-2-1 tear in the month of March. Incredibly, they wiped out a 12-point Ranger lead in their division. The Pens' March 17th game against the Rangers in Madison Square Garden had a playoff atmosphere. Trailing New York by a single point in the standings, this was the Patrick Division Showdown.
In the fans, will he shoot it? He does. Score! Stevens got it. Ricky Lee passes to Lemieux behind the defense, pulls it around behind him. Here he comes towards the net. Lemieux makes a little move, shoots and scores! It went in, pulled out by Hardy. But Lemieux has cashed in. The Penguins have the lead, 2-1. And here's a play though to Stevens, looking for the hat trick. His wrist shot, save, a rebound. Score Lemieux with 3 seconds left. And the Penguins do get a power play goal. They lead 4-2.
The Pens clobbered the fading Rangers and never looked back. Then, on March 21st, at home, Stevens scored in overtime to beat the Rangers again.
Goal, Van Beesbrook was played, it went in! Van Beesbrook went up his glove and it went in! Penguins win the game, I believe! It went out the...
Finally, the hockey gods seemed to be smiling on Pittsburgh.
That was when we started to make our run there for the division, and we love to play against the Rangers. We play well against them, and all I kind of remember is I know that once if we thought we could win that game, we had a good shot to win the division, and as everything worked out, it was great.
1 week later, the Pens faced the Detroit Red Wings and the chance to make history.
Line, that big slap shot again. He shoots and scores. And the Penguins lead 7-3. We're down to 3. Shot by Marsh. Save made. Rebound. 1 second. It's over.
The Pittsburgh Penguins won the game and clinched their first ever Patrick Division title.
It's 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 to get ready. Now go, cat, go, but don't you...
Part of the Pens' excitement is Mike Lang, the radio and TV voice of the Penguins since 1974. His colorful, offbeat expressions have made him a cult figure among Pens fans.
He shoots and scores. Paul Coffey gives the Penguins a lead again. Oh, Michael motorcycle. Oh, stop the press. Oh, she wants to sell my monkey. Oh, buy Sam a drink and get his dog one, too. Oh, look out, Loretta. And ladies and gentlemen, the Penguins have won the game, and Elvis has just left the building.
Lang, his broadcast partner Paul Steigerwald, and all Pens fans had been waiting a long time for a real shot at the Stanley Cup. The anticipation began to build as the 1990-91 NHL playoffs arrived. The fourth-place Patrick Division Devils entered the Civic Arena as the series underdog, but their regular season record went out the window early as they smothered the Penguins' offense and dished out some brutal checks. Their big physical game was working, and the Devils stunned the Pens in Game 1 and stole the home ice advantage. Game 2 saw New Jersey pounding away again. Stevens' nose was broken. Recchi took stitches in the chin. Still, the Pens fought back. Tied 4-4 in overtime, the Penguins were desperate. It was here that their teenage sensation took center stage.
Right with the Yager, but plays all over him. Yager still brings it towards the net. Yager's in front. He's right there. He shoots and scores! Yager wins it in overtime for the Penguins. And ladies and gentlemen, Elvis has just left the building.
But the Devils, behind sizzling goaltending by Terreri, won 2 of the next 3 and forced the Pens to the brink in Game 6. The Pens were only 1 loss away from elimination. The news turned even worse as Tom Barrasso was scratched for Game 6 with an injury. The fate of the Penguins was in the hands of backup goaltender Frank Pietrangelo, who had appeared in only 2 games in the last month. Stevens was taking a beating, but he pumped in 2 critical first-period scores.
Front to Stevens, wrist shot. He shoots and scores. Kevin Stevens pokes it home. Falling goes in for the Penguins. He forgot the puck though, and Recchi puts it in front of Stevens. He shoots and scores again. Kevin Stevens makes it 2-1 Pittsburgh.
Then, one of the most dramatic moments in the playoffs unfolded. Pietrangelo faced the Devils' Peter Stastny right on his doorstep.
Tisov shoots it deflected right in. Pietrangelo save rebound. Stastny stopped by Pietrangelo. I don't believe that save. Neither does Peter Stastny. He can't believe the save that Pietrangelo just made on him as Frankie Sparkly. Now that maneuver there to stop and rob Peter Stastny. Should get 5 to 10 for that. Huh.
Frankie came in, I remember Game 6, the save he made on Stastny there, reaching across. And I still, when I saw Stastny moving into the puck there, I turned the other way because I said, I know it's a goal.
Frankie came in a tough situation in Jersey. We had to win the game, facing elimination, and made a key save on Peter Stastny. That was probably the turning point in the playoffs for us.
The stop was so outrageous that it became known simply as the save. Samuelson fueled the Pens' fire with some hard-nosed, in-your-face defense. Yager and Francis scored on the way to a 4-3 win, and the Pens forced a 7th game back in Pittsburgh. Many prayed for divine intervention against the Devils for Game 7 at the Civic Arena. Again, it came in the unlikely form of Frank Pietrangelo, as well as the courageous early return from an eye injury of Paul Coffey. Pietrangelo's miracles had not ended.
Round with the shot. Pietrangelo stopped him. Driver shooting. Stopped by Pietrangelo, and he made the save on Bruce Driver. Boy, every play so big right now.
The backup goaltender went on to stone the Devils, shutting them out in a lopsided 4-0 victory.
Driver shooting. Stopped by Pietrangelo, and he made the save.
He is a hot goaltender, red hot. They're just not going to beat him.
He was aided by 2 marvelous goals by Jiri Hrdina. The speed and aggressiveness of the Pens was simply too much for the stubborn Devils, and the Pens took the series 4 games to 3 to advance to the second round of the playoffs.
Penguins are going to win Game 7 of a series for the first time in their history. 6 seconds to go. Here's McLean shooting the puck. Pietrangelo stops it. 1. It's all over. And ladies and gentlemen, the Penguins have won the game, and Elvis has just left the building.
At no time during the season was the value of head coach Bob Johnson more evident than in the pressure cooker of the Stanley Cup playoffs. The media demands grow, the fans' expectations soar. It is vital that the players stay relaxed and focused.
Couple more, guys, couple more. Off-skating pretty good. Look at off-skate.
I told Kevin Stevens, don't start watching the game tonight. You get all hyped. Go to Western. Go to a good Western. Go to cable and find a good Western. One with Kirk Douglas or John Wayne, an old John Wayne.
Gunfighter.
That's right, a gunfighter. See, this guy played hard last night. He played hard. He went in the corner. He made contact. He got loose pucks. So today, he's got to get ready for tomorrow night. Yeah. The same thing tomorrow night. We're only as good as our last game, guys. Don't ever forget us.
Bob is a very positive person, and that definitely spreads amongst the team. And the other thing that he did, I don't think any other coach was able to do, was teach us defense.
And I thought that Bob, when he came, brought a lot of positive to this team. He's the type of guy that even though you lose by 4 or 5 goals, you still think you can win the game with 2 minutes to go in the game. So he's that type of coach that brought a lot of confidence to the young guys that we had, and he's a great hockey coach all around.
The confident Johnson and his troops would now face a well-rested Washington Capitals squad in the Patrick Division Finals. The Caps had defeated the Rangers in 6 games in their first-round matchup, and from the drop of the puck, the playoff Capitals appeared. The Pens were sluggish and again lost the opening game of the series. It was at this point that Stevens, Recchi, and Lemieux took charge.
Inside, lay into the slot. Here's Stevens shooting, scoring! Kevin Stevens! Mario goes left point to Coffey, shooting in front of Fucking in by Recchi! Recchi up the near wing in front of Lemieux. Lemieux shoots, score!
The Caps began to unravel.
Slams in, and now Ciccarelli retaliates a penalty. That could be a penalty committed against Dino Ciccarelli.
Pittsburgh's power play started to click, and the Pens began to dominate.
33 seconds to go. Recchi now shooting, scoring! Mark Recchi!
The workhorses, Troy Loney, Phil Borg, Gordy Roberts, Bob Airey, and Randy Gillen teamed with veterans Larry Murphy and Peter Taglianetti to shut down the Caps. Gillen came up big in Game 2 with a goal late in the third period to tie the game.
Center point to Recchi, extra attacker on. Fires a deflected stop, rebound. Who gets it? Penn score! They've tied the game at 6. From right in front, the Penguins have tied it. Oh, you'll have to be here to believe it. The Penguins have tied the game.
Then Kevin Stevens took control in the overtime period.
Stevens is there, a shot. Shoots and scores! Kevin Stevens wins it in overtime.
The electrifying score would be the first of 3 consecutive game winners for Stevens, 2 of them on the road. Behind the hot hand of Stevens, the Pens eliminated the Caps in 5 games.
Washington never changed styles. They never adapted to what we were doing. Most of their offense came off of dumping the puck in, working to get it back in their zone. When they kept dumping the puck in, I would go out and dump it out. And it got to the point where they were really frustrated. They were always caught in between, and we were turning their defensemen on 3-on-2s and 2-on-1s. And you know, we've got so many talented goal scorers. If you give them the opportunities like we had, those guys aren't going to miss very often.
But the 4-1 victory and Patrick Division Playoff Championship did not come without a price. Paul Coffey was lost with a fractured jaw. Ulf Samuelsson suffered a broken hand. Despite the bad news, Mark Recchi continued to shine, becoming the National Hockey League's playoff scoring leader with 20 points in 12 games. Recchi had come a long way from those who said that he was too small to play in the NHL.
I heard a lot. I remember everybody that said it too, and you know, it always seemed to get back to me too, which people said it, and you know, I was always smaller than everybody, so I wanted to prove that I could play no matter what size it was, and you know, that sometimes the heart is bigger than, you know, how tall you are.
Recchi's heart helped push this Pens team farther than any squad in club history. The Wales Conference Championship against the legendary Boston Bruins. The Boston Garden had been unkind to the Penguins over the years, with just 6 wins in 50 tries. The hallowed Garden was a stone's throw from where the Penguins' Barrasso, Bourque, Stevens, Taglianetti, and Paul Stanton were raised. Stanley Cup and Divisional Championship banners hung from the ceiling like medals on a uniform. Once known as the Big Bad Bruins, the Garden sat symbolically in a tough part of town. But the Pittsburgh Penguins grew up in a rough neighborhood also, the Patrick Division. The first 2 games turned into an alley fight. As expected, the Adams Division champion Bruins took Game 1, winning handily 6-3. It was one of the shakiest games of the playoffs for the Pens. Game 2, still in the Garden, was a different story. Once again, Stevens, Lemieux, and Recchi carried the offensive load. On the defensive side, Ulf Samuelsson was assigned to Boston tough guy, Cam Neely. Many felt this was the key matchup in the series. Samuelsson's relentless checking on Boston's all-star was beginning to take its toll. Neely's patience was wearing thin. In the third period, Lemieux gave the Pens their only lead of the night.
Shot. He shoots and scores. Mario Lemieux gives the Penguins a lead, 4-3.
Then, with less than 5 minutes to play, referee Meruelli shocked even the Boston crowd when he awarded the Bruins a 2-man advantage.
Rodney Roberts of Pittsburgh. Going to be short-handed by 2 men.
The gift provided Boston with a golden opportunity, which they quickly cashed in. Despite outplaying and outshooting the Bruins for 3 periods, the Pens would come up empty as Boston's Ruzicka scored in overtime.
The Boston Bruins have a 2-game-to-none advantage in this best-of-7 series.
The Pens were now in the deepest hole of the '91 playoffs.
I think the team developed a lot of strength from that and a real attitude of, hey, we've had enough, we're going to beat these guys now. And when we came back here for games 3 and 4, I think that was very evident.
I don't know what it was. We came back in the plane. We had our normal talk. Like we were up 2 games to nothing. The guys at the plane joking and you know, having a couple of beers and just relaxing, and there was no tension at all. And Kevin Stevens came out in the Boston papers and said, you know, and to all of us, we're going to win 4 straight. And it was just, you know, we knew we deserved that second game.
It's a hockey night in Pittsburgh. Tonight from the Civic Arena, it's Game 3 of the Wales Conference Finals between the Penguins and the Boston Bruins.
In Game 3, the Pens were back with the folks that loved them the most. They showered their fans with a barrage of offense.
The Pittsburgh Bruins, he shoots and scores! Kevin Stevens gives the Penguins a 1-0 lead.
Kevin Stevens scored in the first period, and the Pens went on to crush the Bruins behind 3 scorching second-period goals.
Breaking the Bruins in, dropping Lemieux, a shot, save made, rebound, Ginny! He shoots and scores! Craig Ginny on the rebound in time. Kelly lost it to Lemieux trying to get around, and does. He walks in on the move, makes a little move. He shoots and scores! Mario Lemieux beats Mold like a ready mule, and the Penguins lead 4-1.
Samuelson and Neely continued their own on-ice battle. The Pens' defense continued to clear a path for Barrasso, who found himself in another spectacular goaltending groove.
Look out, his wrist shot set up by Barrasso, and he holds it out of there. Well, the Bruins throwing everything in the kitchen sink, and they're coming on strong right now.
The Pens won the game 4-1. Game 4 was a mirror image of Game 3. The Pens dominated from start to finish, and Kevin Stevens' prophecy of a Penguin Series victory began to look like more than just smoke.
Shoots, scores! Kevin Stevens beats both.
The Pens cruised to another 4-1 win, and suddenly the series was tied at 2 games apiece, and the momentum had clearly switched to Pittsburgh. Game 5 is usually the heartbreaker in a series. This one was back at the Garden, and it was billed as the game. Tom Barrasso absolutely mesmerized his hometown as he stole the spotlight in a near-flawless performance. His stick work in clearing the puck and his aggressiveness taking away the angles had stifled the Bruins. He stopped 34 shots as his offense stepped into yet another gear.
He moves to the net, he walks in, he shoots, scores! As Stevens comes out, turns, put it in front of Lemieux, he shoots, scores! Mario Lemieux!
Stevens and Lemieux were on fire. The Bruins were tired as the Pens ravaged goalies Moog and Lemelin in a 7-2 shocker in the Garden. Samuelson's goal late in the game was symbolic of his clear decision over Neely and the Bruin offense in the series.
Cam Neely is a big, strong winger, and he's very difficult to play against, and a lot of players can't handle him. I mean, he just physically overpowers you. Ulf Samuelsson accepted the challenge.
Ulf continually went at him every game, and that wears on a player. After a while, you get tired of being hit, and I think the same happened with Ray Bourque. Ray was a very similar situation. We kept taking the body, kept finishing the checks. But with Ulf, he showed everybody that it didn't matter whether he got in a fight and got beat up or whatever. He was going to come back out and do the same thing, shift in, shift out, and I think that really took Cam Neely off his game, and that gave us a chance to go on and play the rest of the Boston team without their 2 best players, largely.
The Penguins and their fans were riding a wave of emotion as the team that was predicted to go nowhere was 1 game away from slaying a giant and moving into the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time ever. When they took to the ice for Game 6, 24 years of frustration turned into a magnificent shower of affection. The classy Bruins quieted the sold-out Civic Arena with 2 second-period scores.
But he couldn't shoot it. Loose puck score. The Bruins, Kenny Hodge knocks it in, and Boston has the lead 2-0.
But this was a different Penguins team. They chipped away and tied it at 2-2 after 2 periods.
Put it in front. Borg's there. He shoots and scores! Bill Borg has tied the game for the Penguins.
Pittsburgh and Boston swapped third-period scores. Then, Mark Recchi put the Pens in front, 4-3.
Recchi off the boards for the Bruins in. Comes down with a wrist shot. He shoots and scores! Mark Recchi gives the Penguins a 4-3 lead. Oh, go ahead. Make my day.
It was only fitting that Captain Mario Lemieux's empty net goal would finally break the Bruins.
Lemieux has it to center, though. Turns it to the open net. He shoots and scores! And ladies and gentlemen, Elvis has just left the building.
The Pittsburgh Penguins would add another banner to their ceiling. This one, the Wales Conference Championship.
You can spit shine your shoes because we're going dancing in just a moment with Lord Stanley.
It was another highly emotional series that was won from the heart. The hysteria of the Penguins' dream season had touched every corner of the city. They were the lead story in every newspaper, radio, and TV broadcast. The fever had spread, and the city of Pittsburgh became a sea of black and gold.
This is the greatest.
Good luck tonight, Go, Bob. Hey, Bob. Go Badgers. Go Badgers.
Go Pens. Kick butt tonight.
Opening night, Stanley Cup Finals, and it's showtime.
Perhaps the NHL's most improbable matchup in a final series was about to begin. The rising Pittsburgh Penguins against the white-hot Minnesota North Stars. The North Stars had barely made it to the playoffs with a regular season record well below 500, but they shocked the number 1 and number 2 regular season finishers in the first 2 rounds. And when they dismantled the defending Stanley Cup champion Oilers, they became the clear favorites to take the cup. As predicted, the very physical North Stars checked the Pens into submission in Game 1. Their game was to hit and hit hard, to take the speed out of the Penguins. They were willing to take some penalties, as their penalty killing was excellent. If Pittsburgh retaliated, the Stars were sporting the playoffs' hottest power play unit. Samuelson's early goal gave the Pens a hollow lead. The Stars kept coming back and finally took Game 1, 5-4.
First game we didn't play well. We were kind of out of it again every first game, so it seems like we didn't really have the intensity, and we knew we were going to take a beating. They were a big team. After that, we started to play well after that first game, and
was just one of those series where after we lost that first game, we said we're not going to lose, the next game.
Fans wondered if losing Game 1 in each series was a positive pattern. Maybe so, as Paul Coffey returned unexpectedly after nearly a 4-week absence from a broken jaw. Coffey's return was an emotional lift for the club, and they came out of the gate in Game 2 in a hurry. With the Pens short-handed in the first period, Bob Airy got things going.
Penguins take a 1-0 lead. Now buy Sam a drink and get his dog 1-2. Bob Airy.
Kevin Stevens stuck his broken nose in the crease and found a way past Casey.
Front man there, Stevens. He shoots and scores. Kevin Stevens makes it 2-0 Pittsburgh.
Meanwhile, at the other end of the ice, Barrasso was red hot. Stars goalie Casey had stolen the headlines, but Barrasso was quietly shutting down Minnesota's big guns. Late in the second period, Mario brought a sold-out Civic Arena to its feet with perhaps the most spectacular goal of the playoffs.
Speed by Mario Lemieux. He left it on the parkway going to the airport. Brilliant goal.
Lemieux just said, give me that thing. I'm going coast to coast. He was flying through center ice, and he had the defenseman backing in, and he put it right between his legs, cut in on Casey, and a tremendous final play to turn it over to the backhand as he was falling down. Oh, what a goal.
Mario's goal lifted the Pens to a 4-1 victory, and even the series at 1 game apiece. Game 3 was in Bloomington, Minnesota, and in a building the North Stars owned. They had lost only 2 games in the Met Center since late January. The noise and the fans were quite intimidating. If that wasn't enough adversity, Mario was a late scratch for the game as he suffered severe back spasms just before the contest.
Here they had the Penguin scratches, and I want to see if Mario Lemieux is on the ice. Apparently there was some question as to whether or not he was going to play here tonight.
Apparently Lemieux's back is bothering enough that he cannot play here tonight because he is not on the ice right now.
Without Mario, the Pens still pushed the Stars to the wall before losing 3-1. When Minnesota took a 2-1 lead, word spread of their plans for a Stanley Cup celebration. The Pens were irritated at their premature burial, and when Mario took the ice to start Game 4, it was a surly Penguins team that rattled the posts behind John Casey.
Stevens has it again. He has Francis open, comes out there and shoots himself. He scores! The Penguins take a 1-0 lead. It's picked up by Stevens. He's got a puck now. He's got to shoot it. He's not made. Rebound score! The Penguins have scored again. Ronnie Francis makes it 2-0. Right side, here's Larry Murphy shooting right to the net, and that was just off target in front of Lemieux. He shoots and scores. 3-0 Pittsburgh. And Casey right now doesn't know whether to cry or wind his watch. The Penguins score again, and they lead 3-0 here at Minnesota.
The Pens shocked the North Stars with 3 goals in the first 3 minutes of the game. When Frottier scored in the second, it appeared to be a 4-1 Penguins runaway. But the Pens took a breather, and the North Stars scored twice to get right back in it.
Penguins can't be happy. They just can't be happy.
What many believed was the turning point in the series came with less than 7 minutes to play in the game. Pittsburgh was on the ropes, holding a precarious 4-3 lead. Troy Loney's accidental high stick drew a 5-minute major penalty. The North Stars power play had set a record for the most goals in a playoff season. The noise was deafening. It was here, amidst 16,000 screaming Met Center fanatics, but the Pittsburgh Penguins discovered who they were. The penalty-killing team stood up at the blue line and challenged the North Stars. Time and again, the play broke down in the neutral zone. Minnesota was being smothered by, of all things, defense. It was a beautiful, collective harmony of movement. It was the dance of champions. After 3 minutes and 50 seconds of power play advantage, Minnesota had not managed a single shot on goal. And when a frustrated John Casey tripped Phil Bourque, the power play was over. And so was the game.
The penalty killers did a great job. I don't know if they only had one shot or no shots during this period of time, but I sensed a sense of confidence with our players. We had won in the Met Sports Center, which they were really unbeatable for that time, and somehow we had to stop their momentum, and the only way you're going to stop their momentum is winning, and winning in the Met Sports Center in the Twin Cities, which we did. Coming back home, I think there was a real sense of confidence, and then for the first time, they really could see the finish line.
At home for Game 5, with the series tied at 2, the city of Pittsburgh was overwhelmed by the excitement of a real live Stanley Cup chase.
I watched it build itself up. You know, I seen the blue and white go to the black and gold, and here we are now. This is where we belong.
I've been offered a hell of a lot of money for my tickets, and I won't give them up for anything because it just means so much for me to be here.
This is Lucky Mario. He will send Minnesota back to its cold tundra crying.
It was as if the North Stars never had a chance.
Lemieux's got the puck in front. Hey, shoots and scores! What a play by Mario Lemieux! And the Penguins lead 1-0. Oh, Michael motorcycle. Very close play. Stevens shot right in off the boards. He puts it in. The Penguins lead 2-0. Oh, hallelujah, Hollywood. Kevin Stevens. They have it again. Recchi over to Lemieux. Cuts in. Got the Recchi open. Going for the net. He puts a shot on it. Shoots and scores! The wrecking ball makes it 3-0. And the Penguins have scored again. Oh, book him, Dano. What a shot by Recchi.
When Mark Recchi scored his second goal of the night, it was 4-0 Penguins, and it was still the first period.
Recchi shoots and scores! Mark Recchi's second goal of the game, and the Penguins now lead 4-0.
The Pens' explosive offense clearly had the North Stars confused. But at the start of the second period, it was the Penguins fans who were surprised as they saw Frank Pietrangelo in goal. Tom Barrasso was injured. Minnesota made a switch as well, pulling John Casey for Hayward. But the North Stars would not surrender. They clawed back, and midway through the third period, it was 5-3 Pittsburgh. But then Gagne scored for Minnesota to close within one goal at 5-4. It would be another nerve-wracking finish. Pietrangelo made several stunning saves. And Troy Loney's goal, with less than 2 minutes remaining, finally secured the victory.
Right after Game 5, we were talking we have to win Game 6. That's it. We weren't happy with Game 5. We were happy winning it, but with the end result and everything, we just weren't satisfied. We just said we got to come out Game 6. We got to win at Game 6. We can't bring it back.
We wanted to go in there and win the final game or win a big game on the road, and we've done that throughout the playoffs, and we got in trouble the last couple of games before that, Game 4 and 5. Where we got a big lead and then sat on it. But for us, it was just trying to focus as much as we can. You know, just play hard for 60 minutes, and that was the key.
The Pittsburgh Penguins were now one win away from a glory they had never known. If you could point your finger at one man most responsible for leading this team this far, it would have to be big number 66. It has been said that genius needs a stage. The worldwide showcase for the unmatched skills of Mario Lemieux was the 1991 playoffs. Lemieux shook off the effects of months of rehabilitation and re-injury to lead the team in playoff scoring. He was being shadowed by the NHL's best defensive forwards every night. When even he thought he had nothing left, he would appear at the other end, stealing the puck from a 2-on-1.
He always did his job. He always got his goals and got his assists and got his points. And that's what he's here to do. Mario is a goal scorer, and he always did that. And he never got his just due of having the players around him to be a winner. But he still showed up every night and did what he was supposed to do. And finally, the pieces of the puzzle started to come together.
If you look at our team, you have to start with Mario. I mean, he's our leader, and in my opinion, the best hockey player in the world. And I think he showed that through the playoffs, and he showed the type of character he has to be able to come and to lead this team after all the adversity that he's gone through.
The miracle that is Mario Lemieux has made every Penguin a believer.
I'd like to welcome you all on board our U.S. Air Penguins charter to Minneapolis. It's our great pleasure to be with you once again. All of Pittsburgh loves you, and all of U.S. Air, we're going to make this a wonderful flight for you.
It was a loose and confident Pens team that hit the road for the last time this season. Game 6 in Minnesota would be their 24th game in 52 days. The team appeared to be calm and focused as they arrived in Minnesota. This impossible season came to Saturday, May 25th in Bloomington, Minnesota. It was the Pittsburgh Penguins' appointment with destiny. The Met Center was a frenzy. There was a sense of desperation in the air. From the opening moments, Minnesota's frantic physical game backfired. An interference call against the Stars just 9 seconds into the game would cost them.
Samuelson shoots it towards net, scores! The Penguins lead 1-0. Oh no, Eddie Spaghetti.
The shot through a screen with less than 2 minutes gone staggered the North Stars. The next blow by Mario Lemieux may have been the knockout punch.
Bellows cuts in on goal, makes a little move. Hey! Shoots and scores! He beat Casey like a rented mule, and the Penguins lead 2-0. Oh, what a play by Lemieux!
That was a very big goal at the time. It was a 4-on-3. We were shorthanded. Murphy made a great play. He just saw me going up ice and threw the puck against the board, and I just picked it up at center ice. And once I got going, I knew Bellows was chasing me, and I knew I could beat him one-on-one. So I just used my speed, came on the inside, and Casey moved a little too soon, so it went on my backhand. But at the time, that was a very, very big goal.
Minnesota was reeling, and the Penguins could smell blood.
Taganetti stops, looking, Glasgow shooter, goes to Mullen, shoots it. Stop made, rebound, pick up to Mullen. He shoots and scores, and the Penguins lead 3-0. Oh, great balls of fire.
The Pens' offense was clicking on all cylinders. What followed was an awesome display of firepower.
Yager goes in, Churlo's after him, but he worked away from the check. Now Yager from behind, put it in front, score! The Penguins score again! Barberi in front makes it 4-0. It's a breakaway for Ronnie Francis. Francis moves in towards the goaltender, shoots, he scores! Ronnie Francis scores on the breakaway. Oh, she wants to sell my monkey. And the Penguins lead 5-0. He passed to Mullen behind the defense on a breakaway. Mullen makes his move. He shoots and scores! Joey Mullen gives the Penguins a 6-0 lead. Oh, look out, Loretta.
I like when Jimmy Pake scored to make it 7-0. I sat back on the bench, and on the other side of me was Mark Recchi, and like he gave me a big hug and stuff and said, "Bubs, we did it, you know." And it was that I finally could just kind of go like that, you know. and realized that we won it, and then I couldn't wait for the clock to tick down.
And then as the clock just started ticking off in the third, guys were yelling 16 minutes left, 15 minutes left, 14, all the way down.
And it was so exhilarating to get down to where it was 8 minutes left in the game, 7 minutes left in the game, where you could say, whew, let's just enjoy it a little bit.
When it was done, they had crushed the North Stars 8-0. The historic shutout may have been Tom Barrasso's most shining moment. Mario Lemieux would be awarded the Conn Smythe Trophy as the most valuable player in the playoffs. And the Pittsburgh Penguins took their place in NHL history.
Shoots it back to center with 5, 4, 3. Time runs out. The Stanley Cup has come to the city of Pittsburgh. The 1991 Stanley Cup champions, the Pittsburgh Penguins.
The chemistry sought by Craig Patrick had finally come together. While he will refuse the credit for it, Patrick created a magical moment in Pittsburgh sports history.
Unbelievable feeling.
They just want to touch it, hold it, feel it, cherish it.
Go for it, Mario. Go for it.
Hold it high, buddy.
Growing up in Montreal and seeing all those cups in the Montreal Forum, I think every young kid that grows up in Montreal wants to carry that cup around, and that was certainly a dream of mine.
Players held the precious silver chalice aloft as childhood dreams of a Stanley Cup championship were finally fulfilled.
So many of us have labored so long and never had a chance. And to finally get the chance and to be able to reach out and grab it, I hope we get to experience that again together.
You dream about this from the time you're a little kid, and you want to be in the Stanley Cup final, you want to win the Stanley Cup final, you want to be able to carry the Stanley Cup. I didn't want anybody to push me or shove me or pinch me or anything. I mean, it was the best dream I ever had, and I didn't want to wake up from it.
In the last 50 years, only 10 teams have won the Stanley Cup, so you feel that you're in a very honored group, right? And I feel honored, and I feel privileged, and very, very rewarding. And it's something I'll always remember, that Saturday night in Minnesota when we won the Stanley Cup.
Hey, we're proud of everybody, goddamn. Put it on! Yeah!
In the Penguins' emotional locker room, the celebration ranged from shouts of delight to tears of joy.
Well, I hope they're partying in the streets because the people in Pittsburgh deserve this. They've been long, great fans from everybody, and they were stuck by this team and through tough times and good times, so they deserve it most of all.
Euphoria swept through the streets of Pittsburgh and into the small towns throughout western Pennsylvania. An estimated 40,000 fans converged on Pittsburgh's International Airport to greet their heroes. That championship smile was back in Pittsburgh. The tremendous homecoming was quite literally an unbelievable outpouring of affection for this city's hockey heroes. celebration spilled over into Tuesday and the official city tribute to the team at the Point in downtown Pittsburgh. The patience of team owner Edward J. DeBartolo Sr. was rewarded.
The man who is most responsible for bringing the cup to Pittsburgh, Mr. Edward DeBartolo, please step up to the podium.
This is possibly the most exciting moment of my life, and I want to thank you all for your great support. At this moment, I would like to introduce this very quiet man, but very brilliant, Craig Patrick.
Thank you, Mr. DeBartolo. This is beautiful. This is what it's all about.
Many of the unsung heroes of the Pens stood tall. Randy Hillier, Gord Dineen, and Barry Peterson shared in the celebration along with Jay Caulfield. Names like Young, Leach, Racine, DeLorme, and Priestley all contributed to this magical moment.
I want to catch this on film. So I want to see everybody stick their hand up. The city of Pittsburgh is #1! What do you say we take this out on the river and party all summer?
Enjoy it, Pittsburgh! Enjoy it,
For the people of Pittsburgh, it was a dream come true. The 1990-91 Stanley Cup champion Pittsburgh Penguins gave us all a season that was truly one from the heart.
I'd like to thank the city of Pittsburgh and the fans that have been supporting us for the last 24 years. We love you guys, and this cup is for you. Thank you.
This is a special moment, I'm sure, for the city of Pittsburgh, as it is for all of us here in the Rose Garden.